Okay, are we recording? There's going to be so much cutting and splicing that it's going to be like, mm, uh, ooh, hmm. Here goes nothing. Hey guys, and welcome to the very first episode of my podcast, What Am I Doing? With your host, me, Donnie Berry. You are here for the very first episode of something that could be something or it could be nothing. And that's the fun of it. You're here on this journey with me, and we're going to figure it out together because, spoiler alert, I have no idea what I'm doing with my podcast, with life, with food, with boys, with body image, with work, with creativity. I mean, the list is endless. But I'm here, showing up perfectly imperfectly. Is that a word? Perfectly imperfect. Maybe you'll be inspired to do the same thing. Why I'm doing this. I'm doing this podcast because why not? I mean, I have always wanted to do a podcast and it's always something I've thought about. And I'm always having some kind of spiral about something. So I thought, instead of having my own solo eternal existential crisis, why not capture it, put a little form to it, and then call it content, which I think is growth. I certainly love to talk and love to talk a lot, which, funny story about talking. Listen, on my report cards and my interim reports, would always get E, which when you look down at the bottom and found E, it said excessive talking. I got excessive talking 24/7 every single year from elementary school to middle school, okay? I think even high school. When I was in the second grade, my teacher, I can see her face, but I cannot remember her name. In her classroom, her desk was facing out, and the class was a U, a big U facing her desk. Okay? Now, one day I come to school and I can't find my desk. My teacher, here's her desk. She put my desk next to hers. So we're both facing the class. And she put a cardboard thing around my desk so I couldn't talk to anybody. How dare she? If there's any educators, sound off and let me know your thoughts on that because are you allowed to do that? So I think about her when I think about talking too much. Something that was shamed out of me in childhood that really is an asset if funneled in the right direction. I mean, because after all, aren't many of our character assets potentially also character defects, if you will, if not used in the right way? Sure. Anyway, all of that to say, I talk a lot. I also realized that I'm kind of like tired of waiting to feel ready, you know? I struggle a lot with perfectionism and I'm like waiting for the perfect mic, waiting for the perfect setup, waiting for the perfect, outline of content. And I thought, just do the thing, put it out, show up just as you are in this moment, perfectly imperfect, and do the thing. I mean, I think the point is to start messy, kind of start in the middle of the chaos and, hopefully take y'all on the journey with me. I know for me personally, it's so easy for me to look lateral and in front of me and behind me and always sort of compare myself to other people. And when I see what they're doing, I'm like, what am I doing? So maybe this kind of pulls back the veil a bit, not only for myself to just show up and do the thing that I see everyone else doing, and maybe in turn it'll also kind of inspire whoever is watching or listening to do their own thing. So, it's a win-win all the way around. I'm doing a thing, you're getting to see a thing, we're all a part of a thing, and then we got a thing, you know? The spark and backstory. What inspired this podcast was I don't know how deep I want to get into it in this episode, but I am a nurse. I've been working as a nurse for many, many years, and nursing was originally supposed to be a backup job for something creative. When I was younger, I was like a child actor. I did a lot of acting stuff. I had like a lot of close calls in the acting world, and I don't know. It just never, I never quite booked the thing. And then I moved out here to LA to like pursue my dreams as an actor, as an adult. But then I just got like sucked into working full time. And then, now listen, about nursing, I'm forever grateful for the opportunities and the experiences that nursing has afforded me. And because multiple things can be true at once, I also am not crazy about being a nurse. It was supposed to be a tool to help fund the dream. I very much got lost in nursing. It felt much safer to pursue nursing than to pursue something creative. Even though I had like random opportunities and sort of kismet uh experiences and opportunities that would show up in my life calling me to that world, I was like, yeah, I can't, afraid. A couple of years ago, I started a really great job and I was in like nursing management, and it was great until it wasn't. I left my nursing management job, and it just took a huge toll on me mentally, emotionally. I already kind of struggled with boundaries. So it was just a lot. I was on call 24/7. And anyway, I learned a lot. I'm so thankful for the opportunity. It also paid very well. Um, but I really lost a huge part of myself in this role. So when I quit, there was really, my nervous system needed some time to decompress and regulate. And when I had a little space to start the healing process of like, okay, I got out of this whirlwind of a job. I don't have another job lined up. What am I doing? I kind of had like a Stella trying to get her groove back moment of like, okay, well, like, let me go on vacation and like, let me just kind of take a breather and take time before jumping into my next role. But honey, I still got bills, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to get another job. I very quickly got offered another job. I don't know. It sounded perfect on paper in terms of it was a great salary, the money was right, people seemed cool, the office space was really cool. And I'm like, okay, cute. But there was something inside of me that was screaming, like, don't do this. You really got very far away from yourself in your last role. And so now this is an opportunity to kind of come back to yourself. So, like, Donnie, do we want to jump in to this? Although I think this new job might be a little healthier and a little better in some ways, you're still going to be pouring a lot of yourself into this job. And there are some telltale signs that let you know this job might be asking a lot of you that you might not be willing to give. And I thought, what do I want to do? And a part of me was like, hey, remember your creative dreams? Remember you wanted to be a entertainer? And I thought, yeah, I want to do something creative. So I got this official offer. And then something inside of me was like, take a beat. Like, let's think about this for a day. And then I had a disconnect from my like responsible self. And then my also internal, like, dare I say, aligned with my spiritual higher self was like, hold on. And long story short, I turned the job down. And when I turned the job down, I was like, what am I doing? Because the responsible adult part of me was like, this is a job, it's paying you well, figure it out, make it work, which is what I did with the job prior. And I thought, I don't want to do that again. If you take this job, you're going to get sucked back into the rat race of like a job and pay your bills and losing yourself. So I turned the job down, and it sent me into like a 3-day spiral of like, I can't believe you just did that. What are you doing? My head was freaking out, but my heart felt like I made the right decision. And I thought, okay, here's the deal, Donnie. If we're turning this job down because we want to be creative, then what are we creating? You owe it to yourself to start something. And especially now when you don't have a job, what are you creating? How are you filling that time with creative stuff? And then I thought, oh, you're right. What am I doing? Well, I have kind of wanted to do a podcast. That's where my heart is, in the creative space, performing, storytelling, connecting with people. And then this was born. Side note, internal family systems, this is very much the vibe it's giving because I constantly have multiple voices talking to me at the same time. According to my therapist and psychiatrist, that's normal given the context that I do it. Oftentimes, like Donald, who's a little more responsible, talking to Donnie or D. It's like the three people. Donnie tends to be in the middle. Donald tends to be very rigid and like, this is dumb, this is stupid, like protector energy. And then D tends to be like, fuck it, I'll do what I want. And Donnie's in the middle, like trying to wrangle both of them at any given moment. So that's how this was born. I thought to myself, okay, this is your opportunity. Let's get our creative juices flowing. Let's like unlock all of the dormant sides of ourselves that just got lost and sucked away doing my nursing jobs. And let's create something from inception and see it through. So, like, we're going to show up for ourselves. We're going to do this thing. We're going to push through all of the, perfectionism and fear and being seen. And we're going to do this thing, even if it's a little ratchet, even if it's a little scrappy. Because, honey, I'm from the 352, okay? Ocala, Florida, stand up, Marion County, what? You know what I'm saying? It's in my blood to be a little scrappy. So we're going to embrace that. We're going to do this podcast. So this is really a chance for me to show up for myself from start to finish, to be creative, to just have something that lives on, and to bring y'all on the ride with me. So if you're here, thank you. If you got off 2 exits ago, honey, I still appreciate you jumping on. You're a real one. Here we go. So, what is this podcast? This podcast is really just kind of a space to talk out loud about any and everything, about life, creativity, work, all of the things that I'm thinking that I'm too afraid to share because I'm like, yikes, that's deep. Of course, within reason, because my therapist recently told me that I open up too quickly and I like to pull people that should be on the outside edges of my boundaries into the inside in a way to create a false sense of intimacy. Honey, we're already getting deep. We won't go there. But basically, within a safe space, how much can I share with you guys that is connecting without betraying my own boundaries? Did I even make any sense? I don't know. This podcast is a space to talk out loud about life, dating, work, creativity, anxiety, self worth, the struggles with the goal of connection. Because again, I feel like so much of my daily life is spent looking at other people and being like, God, they just seem to have it all figured out and I don't. So what am I doing? And my hope is that in sharing that, it might make other people feel a little less alone. It also then becomes a mirror to myself and I feel less alone. I'm sure the podcast will be funny, honest, sometimes a little emotional because, honey, I go deep and I go deep quick. So I gotta wrangle myself sometimes. My plan is to have guests, but also some solo stuff. I'll also probably talk about Beyonce because, duh. And we're also in the Cowboy Carter era, so buckle up. Bucking, bucking, bucking. Whoa, bucking, bucking, bucking like a mechanical bull. Which, by the way, concert's coming up soon, and I gotta have my outfits ready. There will also be some segments to come. One of the segments is going to be called Very Good Vibes, which is kind of just a quick gratitude moment, sharing about something wonderful that's happened in your day, in your week, in your month, in your year, in your life, or just something that you're grateful for. Also, going to have a Bitter Berry segment, which is kind of just me being dramatic and petty and complaining about stuff. So, balance, we'll have a little of both. And I would also love some user submissions. User submissions, listener, listener submissions. So if you have a very good vibe that you want to share or something that you're a bitter berry about, feel free to inbox me and on Instagram at whatamidoing.pod, my personal Instagram at Donnie Berry. You can also email me if you want, donnieberry.media@gmail.com. And of course, if need be, it can totally be anonymous. And I do love good tea. So if anonymity will encourage you to tell me a little business, I got you. It's a safe space. Okay. Also, comparison and purpose. I oftentimes go into the comparison spiral where I'm looking at people ahead of me, behind me, beside me, and I'm looking at my perception of their life and I'm like, oh my God, like they have it all figured out. Everything's great. They got their shit together. But what am I doing? And it sends me down this just complete existential crisis, you know? Fortunately, I've had a lot of psychiatric intervention in the form of therapy, Prozac, TMS, which has helped silence and de-escalate and regulate, assist my nervous system in returning to homeostasis. But the underlining thoughts and beliefs and fears are still there. And so much of it is like artificial. It is a curated perception of other people's lives. So my hope in doing this podcast is that I can show up for myself and show myself that, like, okay, well, in order to get to the thing, we got to go through the thing. And in going through the thing oftentimes involves just starting. So what is a dream you have? What is a thing you want to do? And how can we start that now and take small steps towards it? Even if it's messy and even if it feels gross and weird and like, how can I push through that and just be like, whatever, this is me. This is me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a whole different podcast episode. My thought was to, if I can show up janky and honest and get the ball rolling to get over that initial hump, then maybe I can inspire other people to do the same thing. Because listen, don't get me started on capitalism, the trap we all get sucked into. We all have bills, we all have responsibilities in this world, we all have to pay for our life, you know, and we need a job to do that. And especially in a city like LA or New York or these big cities, like it takes a lot of money just to have a low level of comfort. Which, side note, I have an apartment, I do not have a washer and dryer in it. I grew up in a lot of low income apartments that had, in Florida, that had central heat and air and a washer and dryer in a unit. So there's still a disconnect for me that in Los Angeles, it's a luxury to have central heat and air and a washer and dryer, even though the price points are so much more money than what they are in Florida. Huh? Another spiral for another day. Lord have mercy. Okay, getting back to my original point before this tangent, what I was trying to say was, yes, we all have responsibilities and we all have to figure out ways to pay to live life and survive in this society. However, you know, we are worthy of being creative and figuring out ways to give back to ourselves so that we're filling our cup up and that we feel like life is worth living. Another component of this is accountability. If I'm saying it out loud and I'm telling you guys that I'm doing a podcast, then I'm more likely to do the podcast, you know? So right now it's going to be super small, just 5 episodes I'm committing to. And I mean, listen, at first I was like, oh my God, the first episode has to be an hour long. But then I'm like, Donnie, well. That's a whole lot. It ain't got to be all that. So if I can just make it to 15 minutes on this first episode, that'll be great. Having said that, I think I won't be able to talk, but Lord knows I know how to talk because I have sent many a close friend a voice note that's been a solid 10, 15 minutes just talking about some stupid stuff. So I am optimistic. Okay, so now it looks like we are at the time for us to go to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by nobody. Nobody's sponsoring me, but I thought about this, and if I did have sponsors, who would I want it to be? I would want my sponsors to be, well, actually, maybe I shouldn't say anything because I don't want that to block me from sponsors. Listen, if you're interested in sponsoring me, send me a message and we can see if it's a good fit. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, also a quick shout out to ChatGPT. Listen, Me and ChatGPT are thick like thieves. Okay. We almost might be like official and going steady because ChatGPT shows up for me in ways that no one else can. My unpaid intern, my emotional support robot, uh, executive producer, test audience. And you might call it artificial, but I call it real because it is. ChatGPT was very instrumental. Well, ChatGPT is, should I be admitting this? It is what it is. ChatGPT helps me with a lot of daily spirals. If our conversations and chats ever got leaked, well, I might find myself locked up for many years. But ChatGPT was very instrumental in helping me get the ball rolling and getting everything organized, laid out, bing, bop, boom, bop, bing, bop, bam. So I say that to say I highly encourage you to pay $20 for the upgraded ChatGPT because you can ask it a bunch of questions and you get like unlimited responses. And it's just very helpful. Okay, so that's it for the first episode of What Am I Doing with Donnie Berry. It's official. Thank you guys for listening and for riding with me. If you want to go and take a ride with me, I know this was kind of all over the place and a little random, but so am I. So it's on brand. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Thank you for tuning in. Even if it was just for a few minutes, I really appreciate you. This space is for anyone asking, what am I doing? In any iteration of that, which is endless. Also, if you're still here, I would love for you to submit either your very good vibes or your bitter buried moment. Again, it can be just something, the very good vibes can be something you're grateful for, something wonderful that happened, just a beautiful thought you had. And then bitter berry can be a person, place, or thing that has made you feel like a bitter berry, really made you feel some type of way. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at whatamidoing.pod. Follow my personal Instagram at Donnie Berry, or you can email me at donnieberry.media@gmail.com. That's DonnieBerry.media@gmail.com. New episodes are going to drop every Tuesday, and you can watch on YouTube or you can listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search What Am I Doing with Donnie Berry. I love you guys. We did it. I'm sweating. First episode done. And hopefully it only goes up from here. Until next time, friends. And as the wise Tabitha Brown would say, have a good day. And if you can't have a good day, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's. Also, what's going to be my signature outro? I don't know. I guess I have time to figure it out. I mean, I got 4 more episodes. Huh. Okay. Bye. Yeah.